Do you think that Democrats misplayed this?
I think that they've made their point. I do believe that.
Dr. Everett Kelley, thank you so much for being here, for joining the conversation at a really busy time for you.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, you are the head of the largest federal employee union. Let's just set the scene here. What impact has this month plus had on your members, and what are you hearing from them?
Thank you. That is a very good question because this has been a very devastating month for the members that I represent. They have been suffering through, well, first of all, let me just say this. The people that I represent are no different than the rest of America. 65% of Americans live from paycheck to paycheck, and the people that I represent are no different. So this shutdown has been very devastating for many of them, trying to figure out, how am I going to buy food, trying to figure out how am I going to pay the mortgage because you got to remember, living from paycheck to paycheck, one paycheck can set you back. Okay. So, these are the type of thing that they are contemplating. I had one pregnant mother call me up, right? And they just devastated. How am I going to feed my family with another child coming? You know, all of these type of issues are real life issues that they're facing every single day, and they are frustrated with it.
You put out the statement calling on Democrats to pass the continuing resolution to get the shutdown over with. You put that out last week. Why did you put it out when you did? Why wait so long?
Well, from the very beginning, I have told everybody that I didn't think a government shutdown was the answer. Okay. And so when I woke up on the Thursday of last week before last, on Thursday, and I saw federal employees standing in line to get food, I made up my mind then that it's time for this to end. And that's when I released the statement.
What are you hearing behind the scenes? Do you think your move the needle at all?
Well, I definitely think it did. At least now, I think that we are seeing some traction. I think that we're seeing people begin to talk to each other because there was no conversation whatsoever. So I think that's correct.
This is not the first government shutdown, but how do you think this shutdown differs from those of the past?
Well, different from those of the past in a lot of ways. When you consider what they have been going through for the last 9 months, right? Then you can almost see the difference. It's just more and more antagonizing, more and more intimidating for federal employees. And now, on top of being threatened with firing, layoffs, and all these things, here I am now with no paycheck. So morale is at a record low. So it's quite different than, it just feels different than any time before.
Democrats have felt pressure from their voters, from the Democratic base, to show more fight against this administration. That's one of the big reasons why they have held out for so long. Do you think, though, that this was the wrong fight to pick? Is there a better way for Democrats to stand up to Trump than the shutdown?
Well, I'm not going to really say that, at some point, I do understand where the Democrats are saying we have to fight. I do get that. I'm definitely not saying that healthcare is not an important issue. It is a very important issue that has to be dealt with. I'm just saying that because of the suffering of the people that I represent, I need the government to open, right? And then that issue should be taken up immediately.
What have you told members behind the scenes? Like, do you think that Democrats misplayed this?
I'm not in a position to say whether they misplayed it or not. I think that their point has been made. I think that they've made their point. I do believe that.
You're saying they've made their point and now it's time to finish this off.
Absolutely.
Have you spoken to Schumer or to Jeffries or any senior congressional Democrats about your most recent statement?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I won't get into individual conversations, but they're very well aware of why I've taken the stance that I've taken. Yes.
Did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you?
Both ways. I've reached out to them, they've reached out to me.
And what was their message to you?
Well, they understand. In my opinion, I do believe that they understand why I have made the statement that I've made. They certainly know that my constituents are calling for me to stand, uh, against them being used as political pawns in this game.
I think there was a sense of surprise and even a little bit of a sense of betrayal maybe from some Democrats on the Hill because, you have this, reputation, this union has endorsed Democrats, endorsed Kamala Harris, has been seen as allies of the Democratic Party in a lot of these battles, and I wonder how you have been navigating that, with leadership and with other Democrats who might have been surprised and then felt hurt by your decision.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's probably an accurate statement. However, it's not the first time that we disagreed, but we've always managed to deal with issues as they come. I'm still, and hopefully, we are still friends and we're still allies. But because we disagree on an issue doesn't mean that we're enemies.
Where do things stand right now? I mean, as you've been having these conversations, do you see an end coming soon? Are they hearing you, or do you think their Democrats are dug in and want to wait this out more?
Well, it's hard to get into the minds of other individuals. I do think that there is beginning to be some discussions about, how we end this. I do believe that. Yes.
For a long time, government jobs were synonymous with stability, like a good middle class life. Looking beyond the shutdown, I know your union has also filed a lawsuit against some of these rifts. Um, there's been this effort to gut the federal workforce. OMB Director Russ Vogt said he wants federal workers to be traumatized. At one point, what what do you worry about long term about how both this shutdown and how this administration is dealing with federal workers at large and the impact that that's going to have not only on your members but on the country as a whole?
Well, and that is a very good question because my major concern is the future of the services that the members that I represent provide. They provide services for the American people. And if we continue to go down this road, then those services will be completely either cut off or very much diminished. Because when you start thinking about people that do that, inspect the food, when you start thinking about people that service veterans that need care, or people that take care of our criminals at nighttime while we're sleeping, I mean, it's going to be very hard to even entice people to come and be a part of an entity that's constantly under turmoil. So I'm very much concerned about the future, but I'm going to also be always standing with the members that I represent. Whenever they bring these actions that are illegal or against policy or regulations, I'm going to be fighting it. I'm going to be filing lawsuits. And not only am I going to be doing it, we're going to win them because they are absolutely, most of them has been illegal, and we're challenging them and we're winning them.
Well, it's a really interesting point. A couple of points that you made. Number one, some of the critical services for the American people that your workers provide. Number two, looking down the line, I mean, I think this is the case for a lot of jobs in government, in politics right now, because the temperature is just so high and it's just so difficult in this climate to do this kind of work that people are gonna say, why would I go for a job in the government? Why would I run for office when things are just so challenging for people in those positions? I wonder you filed these lawsuits and you've taken actions, but have you had any productive conversations with the administration? Have you tried? Like, are they at all receptive?
But I don't know that at this point, you know, we've had real productive conversations. However, I've always said that I'm willing to speak to anyone that want to talk to me about, how we make life better for federal employees. But I think it's a little early to even know if any meaningful results will come from any conversations at this time.
So there hasn't been any real back and forth between you and the union and the administration.
Not really no real back and forth, no.
Do you see any opportunity for that in the future? What would you say to the Trump administration right now?
Well, I certainly hope that I can begin to see some opportunities. Now, I would say that AFGE is open, right, to have any conversation with anybody about how to make life better for, first of all, uh, the American citizens and for the workforce that I represent. I'm open for that. I've always been open for that. I will continue to reach out. I will continue to try every way that I can to speak to both sides of the aisle about the plight of the American workforce.
Have you reached out to Republicans on the Hill?
Sure,
Have you reached out to the White House?
sure.
What is your message to the party in power right now in Congress, in the judicial branch, and in the executive branch?
My message would be simply, look, the services that the workforce provide, they're vital services that the American people not only need, they deserve. And if you really want to know how to make things better, talk to the people that's actually performing those duties, and let's figure it out together. That's my message. That's always been my message, and that is what the union stands for, and that's what it represents.
And lastly, we talked about your conversations with Schumer and Jeffries and other Democratic leaders. How was that like one conversation? Or are you guys staying in touch as this thing continues to play out?
Sure, we stand in touch. I'm staying in touch with a lot of, you know, congressional and senatorial personnel. I get calls and they call me and I call them. We talk about the issues. And that's why I said, I mean, it's not the first time we've disagreed on things, so I don't know that there's any uh, long lasting envy here. We're definitely not enemies. You know, we think about what's best for the American workforce.
So what is your message then to Schumer and Jeffries in this moment when you're at a bit of an impasse? What would you say to them right now?
Well, my message is not just to Schumer, it's not to Jeffries, but it's into the entire entity, to both entities, Congress and Senate. You know, it's time to end this shutdown. Bring people to work so that they can, first of all, eat, provide for their families, and we can provide the services that the American need and deserve. And I also want to say, that we got to make sure, that we have other negotiations, to take care of other issues that's pressing for this country.
I guess that's actually a great place to end. This shutdown will be over at some point somehow. What what do you want after this? What are you focused on next?
Well, I'm focused on making sure that federal employees get out of this game being political pawns every time there was a disagreement between the both sides. Because in the union that I represent, we have Democrats, we have Republicans, and we have independents, and not either one of them want to be a pawn in this political game. So my objective is to make sure some kind of way, somehow, that ceases.
All right, sir. Anything else you want to add before we let you go?
No, nothing in particular, but just thank you for having me, and I appreciate you for just making it plain as to what federal employees are going through at this time.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. It's such an important moment to have your insight to actually understand how this is affecting human beings while the politics all plays out. So we really appreciate you joining.
Thank you.